is the time of these manumissions, but we got to drop back a little bit. So 1682 was when William Penn arrived in America. 1683 was when the first slave ship came to Pennsylvania. 1688 is the famous among Quakers Germantown Declaration, where a small group of Quakers in the Germantown district of Pennsylvania said, this is wrong, we shouldn't be doing this. And then from 1688 until 1654, there was all kinds of maneuvering and conversations within the yearly meeting to try to get the yearly meeting, which at that point is more hierarchical than our yearly meetings are now. At that point, if the yearly meeting said something, the monthly meetings had to comply. As you know, that's not how things work today, but that's how things worked then. And so it took almost 80 years for the Quakers to decide that they should not hold slaves. And that was a declaration, a minute that was done by the Philadelphia Yearly Meeting in 1754. And in response to that, some people began to manumit the people they were enslaving. Now, there were people who manumitted based upon the conversations they had before that. There were people who got manumitted in 1701 and 3 and whatever, but they're not part of the Haverford collection. So I don't want to say there weren't any before, because there were. But everything in our group, or the people who were responding to this decision that you shouldn't be doing this. And they were going out and talking to people and having conversations. And there was a certain amount of compliance with this rule. There were certain numbers of manumissions that came out, but there was a lot of hemming and hawing. And so in 1774, 20 years later, they said, we will disown you if you continue to be a slaveholder. But in the Quaker way, we continued to go out and visit with them. So Kitty talked about the Evanses, 1779. So that conversation was, do you want to continue to be a Quaker or not? Because if you're not going to give up your slaves, we're going to kick you out. And if you go looking at the minutes of the time, slavery was a minor reason for why you would get kicked out. There was a lot of discipline within the Philadelphia area monthly meetings. They were constantly investigating people and their behavior and deciding whether they should be kicked out of the meeting. So anyway, 1774, we're going to kick you out. Of course, there is a relationship with the independence movement in the United States and the idea that we should be free. All of these conversations were part of Quaker conversations as well. So we had a spiritual side, but there was a political side, which is, how do we tell people we should be free, but we're going to hold people in bondage? 1780 was an important act. It was flawed in many ways, but it was the first state act that said we are not going to have slavery in Pennsylvania anymore. But it had all this timetable. This is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. So it didn't free everybody, but it began a process where freedom could occur, and there were lots of loopholes. But it's important to know, because other people, enslaved people in other states, heard about this, and people moved. People were either got freedom or they freed themselves and came to Pennsylvania because there was a provision in the Gradual Manumission Act that would protect them from being sent back. And then the 1790 was the last day of the collection that Haverford has. And then, just again, to put this thing in, one month later, Philadelphia was the nation's capital briefly, until it moved around quite a bit.